YouTube's up and running. Here comes Twitch. Here comes the Twitch. Doo-doo-doo-doo. I got it. Maybe I should bring the ring light up since it's LED. It's not hot. I'm just like beaming myself in the face with a really hot light right now. It's not my favorite. It's really bright. I can give you that. Take me to my channel. Take me to my thing. Should be good to go. Do the same thing I usually do. I'll keep chat here too, just in case. I'll also see if it's only my phone where I get kicked out of chat. Sometimes when I receive a message, I get kicked out of chat. I don't know why. I'm going to hit the button on YouTube Studio to send an ad so that it stops bothering me during the stream because I hate that. But pretty much everybody who watches these videos has ad blocks, so I'm not like really trying to get the ad revenue. I just don't want to see those stupid messages all the time. I see an icon in chat, but I don't hear anything yet. Let me move this the other way. Okay. Or at least this way I can see. Yeah, if I keep the chats in front. I heard something.
I heard nothing.
Hello, DM Shin.
Heard silence? One moment as we experience the most technical of difficulties.
I don't think I have a friend who streams, and I've been catching up on his streams. I'm like 10 months behind on any long YouTube videos. So if you've sent me a video and it was longer than 20 minutes, in like 10 months I'll respond to you. But one of my friends he's been streaming. He still streams, but I'm catching up on his older streams, and he started one last night, and he couldn't figure out what microphone was accepting audio, but all he was reading on the screen was that the microphone that was on the headset on his head wasn't accepting audio. So everyone that was watching the stream and watches the VOD can hear him, but he just spent 10 minutes screaming, "Hello!" into whatever microphone was picking him up. It's like, I'm so sorry, bro. If I was there, I would have told you that we can hear you. I'm so sorry.
It's so painful. Also, I think I missed. Did you mention that who's joining us today? Or is it just us?
I think DM Lacara is going to join us. I haven't heard from DM Bacon in a couple hours. So I don't,
Okay.
DM Bacon is home. I just don't know if he's going to join us. I tried to tell, if you guys have ever seen Unfairy Tales and what have you, you know about my family. So my mom and my neighbor came home, and I was trying to explain to them that, like, I gotta go do something at 8, and DM Bacon's gonna be there, but like I'm hoping he shows up because he hasn't been in here for a while. And my mom was like, he's gonna get to the house at 8 p.m. And I was like, no, he's not coming physically. That's such a man. I would be so mad if someone asked me to drive to their house to hang out for 2 hours and then go home. I'd be so mad. He's like an hour and a half away.
Yeah, no, in that case, yes.
You can come over, then you gotta leave.
Like, if I live down the street, sure, no problem. Not an issue. I probably still won't leave after 2 hours. But I'll conclude business. However, if I have to drive 2 hours to conduct 2 hours worth of business, then drive back 2 hours, no.
Maybe if we were all making like tons of bank, maybe that would be acceptable. Like if you drove 2 hours, but you got paid like $150 an hour for the hours you were here, maybe that's acceptable.
Oh yeah, and we worked like 8-hour days on the regular. Maybe just 2 of them to 3 of them were recording. Absolutely, if it was a full-blown content machine, as it should be, when it will be, as it can become.
When we start renting out that log cabin to do the same thing we do normally, but we're gonna get fancy robes.
But we'll give people the in our faces experience. So that's how you get them. By then, I'll have grown the shaggiest of beards.
I know.
I'll braid it with D20s.
I know DM Lacara said they were going to take care of the baby first, so I think we can start. I don't think she'll be upset if we start without her. We don't have any we don't have to tell you guys. Well, technically, I guess. Okay, so last episode, if you guys were hanging out with us, we actually finished going over the Empowered. For the time being, there is a plan to actually do a one-shot with those characters, and those characters are available on my OneDrive, which you can find a link to on the Making a Character sheet. I'm actually going to add that link to everything for the Empowered just so you can see them all as we go. But we finished that, and then we were like, oh, we still have some time. We should start doing something else. So one of the other things that I wanted to eventually get to was looking at homebrew creations, and like homebrew monsters. And well, I shouldn't call them monsters. We shouldn't judge creatures, homebrew creatures.
No. They're monsters, and 9 times out of 10, I'm throwing them at my players to absolutely interact. Now, I won't say decimate, but interact with them in a potentially non-friendly manner.
Okay. And we decided out of stream that what we're going to do is at the end of every stream, in the chat that we have going for all the DMs who participate in DM Roundtable, we're going to throw up a poll, leave it open for 24 hours, and we'll vote on what we want to talk about next week. So the first one that we went through, even though we started kind of doing creatures at the end of the last stream, the winner of this week's poll was creatures. So here we are. We're all going to talk about creatures. If you guys out there come in from now on, because there was a whole class to go through and we made characters and what have you, that took up like a whole bunch of episodes, we're probably going to churn through multiple homebrew like one-off things in an episode. So we're going to try to keep them contained. Like this will all be about creatures. But if you have suggestions, I'm not saying we have any there's no real here. I'm just going to hit Control A. Like there's 500 things just here in my bookmarks. That's not including all the stuff I already have actually downloaded and stuff like that. Like we're not worried that we're ever going to run out of content. But if you guys want to suggest things for us to take a peek at, please do. You can leave them in the comments. You can find one of us on Twitter, one of us on Discord.
Yeah, shoot us a message or throw it up here in the chat. We'll be happy to take a look at it. Maybe pop it open and see what we can find.
Yeah, we might even get to it that same episode. You never know. That being said, it won't only be my suggestions. There will definitely be other people who are DMs that are giving us things to look at as well. It's not all. Absolutely. It's just the bookmarks I came across.
I have quite the compendium of creatures and things that I have compiled over my past few years of being a DM and over years of being a player. It's quite expansive. It's definitely quite expansive. But as DM Okami said, if you have any cool ideas, feel free to shoot us a message. And if you want to see that cool extra episode of that eventually will get created at some point in the future, and ensure that we can live out our dream of driving 2 hours for 2 hours for no reason. Don't forget to hit the Patreon for Okami so that he can have literal food. I think he's eating ashwagandha bars right now, so please like and subscribe, share with your friends, hit the Patreon if you really like the content. This is my
And
shameless plug.
don't forget also, you can follow DM Shin. His link is in the description below. You can follow him on YouTube too. He's got
I'm
a
like a
channel.
hireable Joey Wheeler.
We don't, even though no one else wants to have their social media links posted, eventually I feel like it'll happen. They'll make some social media. I did hear from DM Lacara that every once in a while she makes a Twitter and then she deletes it. But every once in a while she has a Twitter.
I mean, you'll find content on my channels. New content, now that's always a fun stretch. You'll find new content in other people's. You'll find my new content in other people's new content, aka when I guest star in people's things.
There's a lot of good guest starring roles, man, and we hope to, like, most of the content we're looking at is 5e slash, I guess now we can say 1D&D related, but certainly there's supplements and stuff that maybe aren't necessarily specifically geared for 5e, so we'll be looking at that stuff too. So we're hoping to have some other DMs and GMs come on in. And
who knows? Maybe we'll do maybe we could do like a genealogy of a certain creature that maybe has existed in D&D for a bit. If people have any cool ideas or want to know the history of, or have us take a look at stuff like that, that's also a cool idea. I wouldn't mind posting up and pulling apart for y'all.
I don't know if I shared it with you, but because of that, I shared a video with you the other day about bounded accuracy and like how the numbers are pretty small in 5e. But one of the things that I found adjacent to that is like the AC rules for creatures have changed so much over time. Like the Tarrasque has existed in many editions of D&D and many editions of Pathfinder and other games and what have you. And like to hear it's this same creature but it's changed all over the place. Like that's so cool. Like in Pathfinder right now, the joke, because bounded accuracy is supposed to like guarantee a small base, but because the base is so small, the game actually informs you on what's going to happen. So like when you run into a creature for the first time that has over 20 AC, you're like, oh no, oh, this is bad. You just know because its number is so high within like the rule set. But like that's 5e. A Tarrasque has 54 base AC in Pathfinder 2e.
Yes. The way the Pathfinder system works is that there are tons and tons and tons of overstacking bonuses that it gets to be a very strong number game. I'm currently actually trying to work through a 2E Pathfinder game that I got invited to. So I'm trying to currently build a character for it, and I will report back on how that goes. But if you want numbers for no reason, you play Pathfinder. If you ever want to see what a +5 on a +9 with a +4 with 16 buffs from food, talking, sleeping, and your party's buff of skills, the Pathfinder. I've seen +180s appear.
If you really like numbers, like the Pathfinder's the game for you. And I will say one thing that we don't really have. We have some of it, but Pathfinder really stole, like in previous editions of D&D, we don't have them as much now. There were so many races because you could just be like, that creature I ran into, I'm going to play that as a playable character. And it would have its own sort of like skills and racial bonuses, and it had its own like set of levels that it could gain and abilities it could go up. And like almost every creature you could run into in a D&D game would have that. and we don't really have that anymore. But Pathfinder like goes nuts with the kind of playable things you can have. So they kind of like carried that torch on. So I have tons of supplements and stuff for races and characters you could play that are for Pathfinder 2e, but like you could convert them if you really wanted
Well,
to.
Pathfinder being built out of the 3.5e system really helps with that backwards conversion too. A lot of the numbers you just scale down and recognize that where in D&D a base score that you can go up to using your points at leveling is a 20. Pathfinder kind of skews that by even letting you start with a 20 at creation, where usually you're locked at an 18. So you can play around with certain things as well. Don't be afraid. I think we had someone else join us.
Discord is not doing the bloop thing. And
maybe because you're streaming?
Oh,
No,
maybe.
Discord's been having issues today.
DM Lacar's here.
Hello.
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 Perfect
How
timing.
everybody's doing?
Pretty
Not too bad.
good. We were talking numbers.
I think we got all the pitching, promotional schlock, and
Cool.
representation of today's episode out the way.
Cool. So I'm coming in for the good bit.
Yeah. I'm gonna take more detailed notes so I can fix up the. For those of you who watch the VOD later, there'll be timestamps with like the little YouTube chapters that tell you what creatures we're on.
Yeah.
I think as we go forward, when we're looking at like small things here and there and we're breezing through them, I'm gonna make sure that the timestamps actually fit them instead of like a big group. Like on the Empowered, I was just doing like, this is the section where we leveled up. Now we moved on to creatures, but I'll actually like go into what creatures are there in a creatures episode. It's also easier because they'll be on the screen for me to figure it out, but I am going to take notes.
So what are these two cute little beasties we got on here?
We're going to start with, I don't actually know if Michi from KMK still makes creatures, but when I was chilling, what up, Grim? When I was chilling on Unearthed Arcana really regularly, Michi was only making tiny creatures. That's their shtick. They only make tiny creatures. Some of them are cute, some of them are cuddly, some of them will murder you and your soul.
Well, let's get a full screen on this Eldritch Abomination and its best friend.
So today we're gonna look at the Grey Witness and the Quasilisk.
Yeah.
Look at them.
I love tiny things that are deadly. It's just those have been some of my best friends in life. No joke.
So I think DM Lacara is already giving this monster just as a whole a +1.
Look at them.
Look at it. It's exactly the kind of thing that, like, I don't know, you see on somebody's like Instagram feed and they're like, isn't it so cute? And you're like, why do you own that?
I won't lie, which one was it to the left? The Grey Witness.
Grey Witness.
I will admit the Grey Witness on first look, between this and the Quasilisk, I will say the Grey Witness to me looks like more fun to play around with. And like a story, just kind of your party waking up and just seeing this tiny little thing like warming its hands by the fire, and them all thinking like, "Oh, we're losing our minds," because I noticed that often it will in my mind. That'll be the real fun for the party. Did they really see hands?
Well, I had fun with that this weekend. I introduced the luggage from Discworld into my campaign.
Oh, Discworld! What a great throw! 10
oh yeah. And like 2 people in the party of 7 knew what it was, and I was like, because they're like a couple minutes into it, and they're like, "It's a mimic. It's a mimic. Okay, we have to kill it." And they're like tiptoeing around it and everything. And then one of them's like, this kind of sounds like the luggage. And then they like started dealing with it differently. And I was like, did I make it too obvious? But like everybody expects a mimic, right?
Yep.
So...
It's very true. I have a player in the game that I kind of like engineered. One group that I have running through it. They recently found 4 bags of holding.
Uh-huh.
What they really found were
Oh no.
3 bags of mimics, and I can say this because I know none of my players will find their way here at this point in time, so it's safe. I won't direct them here for this purpose. Is more what I should say. But they found all these bags of holding, and they've been throwing things in there. And I have them roll perception checks, and I had them roll perception checks, and I decided to just have their passive perception be the check, and all of their passive perceptions are 1 below what they need to notice that every once in a while when they put an item in their bag it licks its lips.
They're not getting
Like-
any
like,
of those items back, are they?
Oh, they exist. The mimic spits it back out because it doesn't want to get caught, but it's just waiting until they put something that it really wants in there so it can just lop off the hand if it tries to take it.
That's amazing.
I
Like-
wish I don't know what it's called. There's a guy. I think it might be Monkey DMs, but in one of his books, he has creatures that are. He tried to make them like video gamey, where every creature has at least 2 phases, and his mimic, like, lives in a library and all it wants to do is eat knowledge. It's incredibly stupid. It thinks if you can learn what's in a book by eating it. So like he lives in this library, but if you mess with his books enough, his second phase is he's basically a luchador mimic, and he will like pile drive you for touching his books.
Oh no.
The best one I saw was it's somewhere on D&D Beyond. It's a homebrew. It's called the Bag of Withholding.
I think I have run across something.
Is this for the IRS? Get out of here.
Oh my god, no, it's amazing. It's actually, I have it pulled up here. It looks and functions exactly like a normal bag of holding, but it's actually double the interior. But it feels unappreciated, and you have to like succeed on a persuasion check to take anything out of it.
That's amazing. Needing
You
a
have to,
healing
like-
potion at
Yeah.
the last second, but failing the persuasion check.
Yep, and you can make repeated checks, but it gets harder every time as you like bungle the conversation.
Oh,
He just wants to be loved.
what a fun way though to put like a character that you maybe. I feel like that'd be a fun way for like a character that I feel like maybe isn't like having as much fun interacting with the table
Yes.
to kind of get them out of their shell to play more. Like you've got to talk to this bag and make sure it likes you.
Yep.
It's like, hey, I know you got all this gold, but if this thing doesn't like you, you have no gold.
And just the idea of like, they're in a really tense situation and they have to pull something out, or like there's a time crunch or something, and now you have to stop and sweet talk your bag. There's so much comic potential there.
Listen, as a player character, I'm known as the Nat 1 specialist. So I just don't like my odds in any of those situations.
Oh my god, in our campaign so far, we've had 3 battles. I don't think anybody has rolled an attack roll above an 8.
Oof.
It's pretty sad.
Kind of rough out there.
Grumbo, did you touch our cups? Is that what happened?
The bad. I think to tell the truth, I gave Grimbo the bad luck long ago.
Oh no.
I'll explain it. I'll explain it another time. But one of my greatest fears is that I'll always roll the lowest score possible. So I do.
You manifest it. That's all.
I can do the opposite every once in a while. Ask a DMVF if we ever get him in here. Axel Club.
I think statistically, you guys know him as Jack DT. I think statistically, Jack DT is the best at rolling. In my campaign, and he's also the only one who can call out when something needs to happen. and he has advantage or disadvantage, what have you. Actually, it happens almost every time when he has disadvantage. He'll roll a nat 20, and then like the group needs this nat 20 for whatever is about to happen, and he'll just go, I'm gonna roll a nat 20 again. And then he does. Like he was on dimension 20 or something. Like he just knew that the next one was gonna be also a natural 20.
Sometimes you just know.
Mm-hmm. Like sometimes you really just need to wish that into existence, and it works.
What up, evil? Thank you. Yeah, everyone else is gonna do the plugging for me because I'm bad at it.
Yeah, you're gonna get the YouTube award for like worst personal proponent.
Worst calls to arms ever.
First person to get 1 million subscribers, but never asking anyone to subscribe themselves.
Yeah.
All your play buttons will be question marks. But getting to the question mark, what are we looking at?
We
So
are
Yeah,
looking
seriously.
at the Gray Witness.
Which is a great
Basically,
name.
they never speak. Well, they sometimes speak, but basically, they're just around waiting and watching people die.
oh,
So like you see them before you die?
Kind of.
I love stuff like that.
And it's
Do
like,
they have any affiliation to, like, since they are Unearthed Arcana, like the Raven Queen or anything like that? Since she sends to ensure things are going natural order?
I think because he's Michi was like, oh, sometimes people call him Death's Notary. I think he might actually be more closely related to somebody like Mirkul, who's like, I just want you to know that death happens. Like, I'm there. You're mortal. I'll see you soon. Like, it's gonna happen.
What a great story, like hook.
Ooh. Every different people in the party seeing it and then running into like really bad encounters, but like none of them knowing to tell each other that they see this weird little thing popping up.
Oh,
Ooh, there's a lot. I think that I would play it that way. And it's really just these little things kind of letting them know, oh hey, you might die. And
like
them succeeding.
Oh, that's perfect. Like it's kind of like someone in the group would cast augury or something else of divination, and then every once in a while, like they're preparing for a big battle's coming up, or like they know that their town's going to be sieged, so someone casts augury or something like that, and then each individual member like sees this little dude floating around. And you're right, they don't want to tell each other, but something bad's gonna happen. Oh, I like that.
You know what I would do? I would build this up over months of a campaign where they keep coming across like parties of people dead, where like somebody like their dying move was like drawing its face in the dirt or something. Like the outline of this thing. And then like time passes and everyone forgets about it. And then members of the party start seeing it.
Oh, that would be really fun. You could eat. Oh, that would be extremely fun. Even as them passing dead adventuring parties and seeing one like with a passive perception check, like having one person see it there, kind of looking around, like, oh, okay, maybe one or two of them, kind of like having them almost be like passive NPC spirits.
Yep.
Oh, that would be fun.
That would kind of remind me of those little what are they called? The little spirit things from Spirited Away.
Yes.
The little forest spirits. Like they're very reminiscent of that. Like,
hey buddy.
Yeah, no, I like that idea. And I like the fact that I saw when you originally scrolled down a little bit, Okami, that they are considered lawful neutral.
Yep.
So they really are. Yeah, they really are looking to be the most balanced, like to the T kind of things. They're not really looking to bother anyone. They're not really here. Even their stats kind of say like they're not really looking to fight anyone.
The
Yeah.
fact that I think this is one of the only creatures I've ever seen that has a bonus to religion. Like, okay, you didn't have to throw that in, Michi, but you did. I appreciate
Mhm.
that. And history
You know.
because they just watch people die.
Also, I think this would be an amazing necromancer's familiar.
I was gonna say necromancer or grave cleric.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh, yeah.
Their dominion, their domain speaks to them through the great witnesses. Like
It's
they're
yeah.
Oh, because I was going to say, how would you get, this is the first, and then I was like, oh no, it's a celestial. That makes sense. A lot of, even though this guy is all necrology, his first trait is that he's a lie detector. And
Yeah.
that's pretty common among celestials. So I was like, all right, cool. He looks like an undead or a fiend, but he's a celestial.
I would say even if your grave cleric uses speak with the dead, these guys come out and translate what the dead is saying to the cleric.
Or
Oh,
like
that's amazing.
you have to, because they're bureaucrats, you could have like a system in place where like you go to a temple and you have to like you pay your respects or what have you, but you have to wait in line to get this like the specific gray witness to come to you to tell you when a creature died because they know every death they've witnessed, they know the name, the moment, the place,
Yep.
and the cause of death. So like as bureaucrats, you gotta be like, I would like to hear from Gray Witness like B17. I would like to request his expertise.
I think you would just request it as the person who died. Like, I'd like to speak to the witness of, you know, the Duke of Winterhold. And all of a sudden, this guy, little guy, just pops up and he's just like, oh. And he just starts transcribing notes for you because he doesn't speak. Ah, that would be perfect.
No, I don't want 100s. I'm trying to respond to you, Evil, with hearts, but all I can do is make hearts in the stream. Sorry. I'm trying.
I also love the idea of this being a thing in like a more established, like where you've got a party that's like set up in an area that they have like a partnership, that there's some kind of like temple system where it's like buddy cops, where you've got like a cleric and a gray witness that work together.
Oh,
Yes.
because shielded mind, like what we said before, would make so much sense because you couldn't prove that he was there if you were the only one that saw him. Because he's shielded mind, he's immune to scrying or any effect that senses its emotions, reads its thoughts, or detects its locations. So you could just be like, yo, I saw a thing. And after a while, everyone would be like, I don't believe you.
Mm-hmm. It's very
Huh.
There's a lot of fun. And I will say, I'm glad this is the first monster we looked at because it's a monster that has zero purpose in combat.
Though, like, as a CR, it's supposed to be a CR half creature, like, the gazing beam that you shoot 3 people at once, even though it's D4, like, what don't be a dick to this guy. If you're like a baby, don't be a dick to him. He will
Yeah.
he will blast you.
5 to 9 damage on average 5 to 8 damage on average per turn. And that's pretty deadly actually if you think about it. And on 3 different people, you could take down a level 2 party accidentally if like a few of these guys grouped up
Yeah.
and just started blasting. Oh,
It's
and now
it's
in that moment, all of them turn into Danny DeVito from It's Always Sunny and just start firing blasts. They all get the little tufts of hair and they just start firing their little beams.
You could even make, because of its rejuvenation trait, where only a wish spell can stop it from coming back after it dies, because he's just like a little piece of a god's like secretary, what have you. Like you could make a whole campaign out of the bad guy like wished that all great witnesses wouldn't be able to regenerate, and he's just going around killing them. and like it's ruining the knowledge of the universe.
Yep.
What a monster, but a great idea.
Or for the people who want like a real cinematic D&D experience, have the entire thing be protecting the last Grey Witness before
Oh.
he can testify.
Oh!
Oh. He
Law and
saw
Order.
the
FRU.
Yeah.
So you're saying you flavor it as, okay, follow me here. The Grey Witness witnessed the BBEG kill whoever protects the Grey Witnesses and had the wish spell, thus making the wish spell requiring the Grey Witness to testify to
Yep.
stop the BBE. I'm in.
Oh,
I got a character. Let's go.
That like screams Waterdeep, doesn't it?
Yes. That is a fun adventure.
That's awesome.
That right there is a fun adventure. I'd say as a monster though, I love this guy. I want to use one now. I'm gonna figure it out when.
This guy's definitely going in my bookmarks. You guys, Grimbo, you're in the chat again. If you're fighting this guy, you're a dick, but maybe he'll show up somewhere.
And maybe him showing up isn't the best thing.
True. Now we're gonna move on to the Quasilisk. He comes through the sewers and the catacombs. He turns people to stone naturally because he's got basilisk in him. I was reading some of the comments that like Michi was responding to people about, and he was like, or she, I haven't, but Michi was like, I was just gonna call it a basilisk, but you know, there's already a basilisk, but it's small, so Quasilisk. And I was like, that's cute. I like it. Keep it. What do we got? Oh, where's his stance? Oh, the special stuff's all on the side. That's Petrifying Glimpse is huge. I thought that was multiple traits. Nope, that's one trait. Also CR half. What do you got? 30 feet, and they can see each other. It's the same. Oh, it's one of the ones where you get more petrified. Oh, no, it's not. He rolls. There are a couple creatures that are like, oh, when petrification starts, you have a turn to fix this. You have another turn to fix this. Oh, no, you're petrified. But this guy's like, yo, I'm a rock.
I tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got a lot of health for a CR half, actually.
Oh, yes, he does. That's big. Huh? The Laundry King's here, too. Oh, that's cool. 2 of my party members are here. I'm going to tell you secrets. Maybe not. Things you should fear, actually. More so than secrets. Oh, he can't petrify your whole body. He can only petrify parts of you. Oh, I don't like that.
I think that's pretty great. Honestly, that's less aggravating as a PC.
True. In the comments, people were saying because this is a CR half creature, they think that you shouldn't stick with the petrification because you're probably low leveled. So they were saying maybe you should try. Their suggestion to Michi was like, oh, maybe it fades out, it dissipates after a day or half a day or something like that. Michi said originally they were thinking that, but like the quest to go fix yourself, I think, is part of that player's journey now.
Well, yeah, you have to get a lesser restoration to restore it, at least. So it's going to be fun to have your players bumble around while this tiny little thing that could probably pop out of the tiniest corner of a treasure chest petrified them. It's a lot of fun with this.
The 1 to 2 part, I can understand. Someone in the comments was like, if my creature's hands got petrified, and I was low level and couldn't afford to get myself unpetrified, like I would just make a new character. I'm like, well, you can't hold a weapon, but you can still punch people really hard with your rock hands. You could be the Thing.
Ooh. Have that person flavor themselves into a monk. And literally they take monk training until they're high enough level to purify the petrification. There you go. Character arc. I think it's when they get it's like key, it's one of the key abilities they get at a higher level. It gives them purity of like their body and they can't be affected by like magical effects or something like that.
You're immune to disease.
Yeah.
I like though that like each of the things comes with a bonus though.
Yeah, didn't again like with giving the Gray Witness bonuses to history and religion. Like Michi didn't have to give it. They didn't have to give you bonuses when something's petrified, but they did, and I appreciate
It makes sense. Yeah, I like it. I feel like this is something that should have like pack tactics too.
Yeah, I feel like you wouldn't run into one of these by themselves, and I feel like that's the problem. Like, if you're making your, I wouldn't. It suggests like, oh, you know, some people have them as pets, essentially, like a wizard might have one, or somebody who has like an art gallery might have one to stop people. But like, if you're running into these in the wild, they're probably going to be in a pack, and like if your party is going after them as babies, not them as babies, but your party as babies, like they're going to, they shouldn't be there.
This is a fun creature to slip out on people. This is, I see the request for a pet. It could be a fun familiar. It could be a fun ranger pet.
Yep.
I would not argue against the Quasilisk. I had run across long ago a way to incorporate what felt like monster evolutions or growth in similar ways of like how dragons and other creatures kind of have stages of growth. And it was to kind of mesh together certain creatures as potential mutations or evolutions. So like goblins mutating into trolls potentially, or hobgoblins and things of that, and kind of growing in that way. I would have fun with this potentially growing into a full-grown basilisk, or something within that nature. It could be a fun way where somebody finds one of these in like a wizard's tower. They don't know what the hell it is, and they take it on as like a pet, and it's the only one that exists.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like you'd have to adapt something like how you can like pay off Zorns with gems. Like some kind of personality thing like that, so that you could like bond to it or keep it from attacking you.
Yeah.
Oh, you wanna Laundry King. So Laundry King has a owlbear mount that's his barbarian's friend, and he said his owlbear would like a Quasilisk. A pet in a pet. Oh, well, okay. Since this is a tiny creature, it could technically live in like a sort of symbiosis with a much larger creature. So like imagine you're fighting an owlbear and like its feathers kind of pop open and like a little Quasilisk kind of crawls out to like towards its chest, and then you're trying to run, but as you run you're like, wait a minute, what's that? And then all of a sudden part of you is petrified. Like that could be a crazy encounter.
It's giving me very much Saz from Final Fantasy 13 with a chocobo living in his hair, but but I do like the idea of a almost kind of like tiny creature, bigger creature. I mean, you see it in fighting games sometimes with like little like puppet and partner characters and stuff like that. It would be kind of cute to see in a D&D sense, like on an additional swipe, like, you know, if you get a critical hit, maybe you have that creature roll a d6 to see what the little guy in their hair does. Maybe it pops out and petrifies somebody, or Like it's like a cool little bonus, or you can, as a bonus action, have it do something kind of passive, kind of like in a find familiar sense.
I definitely think the tiny, like any tiny creature, is wildly underutilized. Like even
Hmm.
the artificer that can make the little hand cannon, like it can choose
Uh-huh.
that to be tiny and it can just be a cannon that chills on their body at any time. And it just like gets up and walks away sometimes. And I feel like not a lot of people are realizing that like sure you could have or even like a wizard, like their familiar it's tiny. It doesn't necessarily need to be separated from it. It could just be on that guy's person all the time.
Mhm.
I think the fact that there's nothing in the rules that says it being smaller weakens its damage,
Mhm.
nor or that it being larger necessarily increases the damage of certain things on it. You kind of can play around with fun things of a tiny little thing that's dishing out a D8 of damage. So just imagine being a player in the middle of a fight and just a random D8 of damage comes flying your way that you weren't expecting. That's not fun for anyone.
I I'm I, I just keep staring at the if the Quasilisk rolls a 5 or 6 where the creature it's petrifying, they become blinded and deafened, but they gain tremor sense to 120 feet. Like that could change your whole character.
Yeah.
Yes.
That could
I think
be
it does.
so like that could be such a fun journey to go on. I really like these
I
guys.
think I think that's the real fun of this kind of creature, and I'm glad that these two creatures give a almost I don't want to fight you feeling.
Mm. And like for different reasons too. Like Grey
Mhm.
Witness is more like I don't want to fight you because like you're just part of the universe, bro. Like
Yeah.
that's fine. The Quasila is like I don't want to fight you because something real bad is gonna happen to me if I'm ill prepared. Though a if you did give the Quasilisk pack tactics, especially because they're easily mistaken for rats, like obviously they're gonna group up together. Um,
Mhm.
if you gave them pack tactics and you made it so like, oh, some weird stuff's happening in the cellars in the starting town that you're in. Like a pack of Quasilisks could be an absolutely great like tier 1 ending battle. Like you're all prepared, you got the townsfolk ready to stop them in case any of them escape, and your party's going down into the sewers to find the Quasilisks. Even though they're low CR, together they're gonna be crazy.
And I love that, like, especially if there's no, people go down and just don't come back up, they're going to be expecting like an ogre or something. They
You
get
could
in
even
these like
have like
6-inch tall.
oh the little like it touches their foot and they're like, oh, there's rats in here, and then one of them looks down and all of a sudden they're blinded and deafened and they're like,
Yep.
I can feel the floor.
Yeah.
Oh, I like these two guys. Thank you, Michi.
Yeah, good job, Michi.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 on the creatures.
I'm for sure I'm moving them to my creatures bookmarks. Definitely keeping these guys. Love them.
Well, who's next on the list then? Who
Oh, I forgot how
who
I did this.
who
Oh, I think
Well,
it comes
speaking of which,
after.
how can other people get at your bookmarks?
That's a good
Ooh.
point. I think for the bookmarks, I will try to keep. Oh, actually, I think I can make the what are they called on? They're called chapters on YouTube. I think I can put the link in the chapter description. So not only will you have the little bar under the video if you're watching the VOD version, but you can also just click it in the description and it'll take you there. That's a good point. I didn't think of that, how to put up. Oh, that's a very good point.
I meant more getting people to subscribe to your Patreon, but okay.
Oh, well, I feel like I can't put.
DM Lacara, we're not barring the gate entry in this sense, but it is true. People subscribe.
Yeah.
Do it.
I do already have, if you do subscribe on Patreon, if you become a patron or you become a channel member, you'll get access to my overhauled D&D BGM list, which we are currently listening to music from now, which probably is on the low end, but that's good because we talk. And you'll also get access to my repository of homebrew, which is more for players and DMs to make characters with. It doesn't have items and creatures in it, so that is definitely something to consider. I hadn't thought about also doing all this stuff that I've come across, but the repository has races, classes, subclasses, feats, and spells in it. So if those are more your speed, you can get access to those if you become a channel member or a patron on Patreon.
I'm sure we'll
Okay,
take a
I'll
look
get
at some of
better
that
at
stuff
this.
in the future. Don't worry. One of us will always be here, hopefully, to at least plug for you.
That's fair.
If not, at least in spirit of the chat.
Next up, we have a much creepier guy, a Shadestalker. I don't have. Does he have the? Hofnar is the monster creator. I was like, I don't know if he has his name there. We're gonna zoom in. Hofnar, all of his creatures have like a. I think the two that we looked at last week were also Hofnars.
Okay.
He always has like a real. I guess real.
The Bogmangler.
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering.
I feel like he puts in like the when this is gonna sound mean, but when WotC is trying to get people to care about the monsters, they'll put in like a full page spread about like what this monster is, where they've been, what they're doing. They don't always do that though.
I missed the blurbs. I missed the
Right?
AD&D. I missed the second edition blurbs. The tiny box that gave you 6 bits of information.
Yeah. I'm gonna switch the music real quick. We're going for Departure. Ooh, spooky. No, get out of here, stupid. I hate when move because it's Google Drive. Yeah, it keeps bringing up the thing which is just in the way. Go away. Shoo. Nobody likes you. There we go.
Wow, there's a horror I didn't know I had. It says it looks like a collection of roots, but it's covered in skin rather than bark. That's a level of horror I didn't know existed.
That's a new one, and I'm noticing it has a terrible charisma score, but then I also read it cannot speak. So it just knows what you're saying and stalks you. This also being a large monstrosity makes me think your players see this thing and hope they don't piss it off.
Let's see, CR4 with a dex of 20? Wow.
And a strength of 15.
And he wants you to stay in the dark, which will scare. Well, I mean, let's face it, everyone's trying to get dark vision out here in these streets. But those regular humans out there, he's going to try to pull you in.
You know, this Shadestalker reminds me an awful lot of my vigilante that we I think secretly there's some deep unearthed connection.
I'm reading the Masterful Lurkers section, and it says in direct light it's revealed that a Shadestalker is actually the color of white pearls, which like you can, if you do want to add that portion, like say it's been chasing your players, what have you, it's been terrifying them the whole session, and then finally they lure this thing out into the light and it looks just so like regal, like so shiny, so celestial. But really it's here to kill them. Like, oh, there's the twist, and then you twist again.
Oh yeah, it was reading in the Sentinels and Servants, and now I've got it. Thanks.
Sorry,
Servants and Sentinels section. Oof. They often serve powerful beings such as hags and evil spellcasters, or even black dragons. These things being locked in a swamp automatically makes me think cursed bog people.
Yep.
Maybe lost adventurers get turned into these things, since, as you noted before, DM Lacara, it's skin instead of bark looking. So maybe former adventurers that failed to make out a deal with the Black Dragon get dragged back into this bog and turned into Shadestalker.
Oh,
All right, so the entire time that Shin was saying that, I was doing this into the camera, even though no one could see it because some of my party members are in the chat. They might know a black dragon, perhaps.
oh no.
If you ever need to torture your party, just give me 5 days.
5
Don't
days,
worry.
it sounds like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Give me 5 days so that within 5 of those days, I can take 5 minutes to cook it up.
8d10 seems pretty okay. All right.
Did you guys see the news thing a couple months ago about the town that was uncovered on wooden like pilings in like the Neolithic era somewhere in the Balkans in the middle of a lake?
Yes.
Like a fully functioning.
Yes. So this is connected. Bear with me. Somewhere in Eastern Europe, I forget what country it was bordering, there's this gigantic lake. And they found this like really, really early, I forget if it was actually Stone Age or like Iron Age town. It was an entire town that had been built by them sinking something like tens of thousands of tree trunks from the nearby forest in the center of this lake. And they built the town on top of it. And I'm like, okay, tell me that doesn't scream some kind of awesome mythology. What were these people so terrified of that they moved their town into the middle of the lake? And now I'm like, these things. Obviously.
Oh. Yes.
The town is terrorized by these things. They cannot go out at night, but they won't go near moving water. So they build the town in the middle of the lake.
Beautiful. This is the content you're here for. Beautiful.
Yes. I'm with it. I'm 100% sold on that.
Isn't Misty Step 30 feet?
Yep.
Yes.
Huh. This is like the dark version of Misty Step, but usually I see people write 30 feet, but the Shadow Stride is 60 feet, and I might need to change some stuff on some creatures that you guys are currently in combat with, because 60 feet, that's twice 30. That's nice.
60
It is
a
from
lot.
darkness to dark. It is darkness to darkness. That is the catch. It's dim light or darkness to darkness. So, but that is kind of freaky, especially in the middle of a fight. If one of these things pops up that you weren't paying attention to and just slinks across the room.
You thought it was in
Your
front of you, and
party's
now it's
fighting.
behind you.
Well, your party thinks they're fighting some hag in her cabin. All of a sudden, the door blasts open, but they don't see anything. All the candles go out. In truth, 4 or 5 of these guys just slinked in through the darkness, and they didn't necessarily see it unless they get a high enough perception check. And now these things are slinking across the room, covered in the dark, maybe with like a little bit of moonlight and some window panes, as these things try to swing at them. Will the mage remember to cast light? No.
So
Would these fit inside? I thought they were large.
Well, they're large, but imagine being in a large hut full of
Yeah.
darkness.
Their obscure power, though, they can pump out a field of darkness that they can see through, but no one else can. But it's got that caveat of if you use a spell of second level or lower, the spell is dispelled and the darkness stays. So maybe they might not even be able to stop you with light. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking their multi-attack is that they use Impale, and Impale just does your regular piercing damage. But being that it's called Impale, and they're making 3 of them, and they're basically shooting their branches out 10 feet. Like, it's not exactly what the stat block says, but if I was running this creature, I would use Obscure, make everything dark, and then because he can see through the darkness, I would have him like kind of shifting around in this magical darkness field, doing Impale, but my version of his Impale would be he's shooting his roots through your feet, and he's stopping you from moving.
Oh.
Devious.
Ooh. And it's 3 attacks, so you're looking at a minute. So 3, actually no more. You're looking at least what? I think it's like 10 to like 40 damage or 30 damage or something like that. I forget what I'm not doing math in my head on an average of 7, but still, well, 21 damage average on a turn. That's scary.
Yeah.
That's
And he's
scary for
one of
anybody.
those creatures where, like, if you do employ my strategy where Impale's actually impaling you, he's not going to, like, one of the creatures we were talking about last week, he makes 4 tentacle slap attacks, and you would think that he was gonna go, because he's got 4, he can hit 4 people, but realistically his strategy should be, the way he was built, is that he slaps one person 4 times to apply the debuff, and then he can bite them next turn.
Mm-hmm.
So like this guy, he's just going to keep trying to impale people. Once he's got the impale, he'll move on to a new target. But he might just try to impale the same person 3 times instead of shooting out everywhere. He wants to make sure you're not getting away.
I mean, if you've got
And you're-
something with tentacles and multiple attacks, and it's not just grappling people first, something's wrong.
And your party does have to be aware it has bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing resistance, but only in darkness or dim light, which means players who don't have +1 weapons or spells have to lure this thing into the light to hurt it.
It's true. It's true. And because he can make that obscure field, and it's got a recharge, like
On a
he can
5
just
and a
keep
6,
making them.
This is when you really need like a paladin or a light domain cleric.
Oh yeah.
Just all the radiant damage.
Pulsating candles of light. Just there
Yeah.
are 2 little suns in the dark. That's what you need.
I want to see a Scourge Azamar fight this thing.
I'm thinking of warlocks who have taken the Eldritch Sight invocation, which lets them see in magical darkness, being like, he pops it, and the warlock's like, I got this, guys, don't worry about it. They step foot into that field, and they're like, oh no. Oh no. And then they're stuck to the floor.
Or even getting caught in it because this thing is ambushing them and their party. They pop this magical sight to see what the hell's attacking them and just see these things in the dark, because what they'll see is pitch black, but probably the pale white skin of these things. You'll just see this pale skinned skin creature walking at you in the darkness, and I'd be like, you know what, guys, I think this is a bad combat. We've got to go. And I'd misty step away.
Yeah.
Peace.
My character, I gotta go.
Anything pale in the darkness, it's like, if you're not running, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I
Definitely, I think the downside of this creature, though, is it has to be the swamp.
yeah.
Like,
Or like at least some place that has a good water source.
sewers?
I would say you could definitely put them in the sewers. Especially if this is probably going to be a very small a reference that most people are not going to get, and I apologize for it. But also, I guess spoilers for the end of Craig of the Creek. Like at the very center of the creek is an abandoned candy factory. And
Nope.
like the candy in the factory has like become one with the forest. And so there's weird like almost Willy Wonka type stuff going on in the factory, but there's also just like a giant tree that's also part candy growing out of the center of it now. And I'm like, you could put in like not whimsical but terrifying, that like something popped out of something grew through the sewer system.
We
The
can turn that from
spirit of
HR puffin
diabetes.
stuff to George Romero very quickly. That makes it better. Horror Wilford Brimley. I need it.
All the Shadestalker. Well, oh, they can't speak. Damn. I was gonna say all of them just sound like him.
All the Shadestalkers spawn from it because the magician that cast the spell in the factory that fell into the tree is the tree, and literally in the fight, the tree transforms into giant tree candy Wilford Brimley and attacks your party. Done.
I was thinking this guy specifically, I forgot the name of the tree, but on one of the very first D&D streams I did, I was talking to someone and they brought up the creature that me and you, Shin, played. It was like our first boss in Clubs' campaign. That tree where it like its roots absorb the blood from the battlefield, so it becomes like possessed by evil and what have you. Like that guy looks like Wilford Brimley, and these are its offspring.
Oh,
I cannot think of the name of that creature, but multiple people.
I just faced something similar to it in Club's campaign too that I'm in.
I cannot think of the name. But multiple, for some reason, that is the one creature. Like whenever I talk to someone who I'm not, like I've just met or what have you about D&D, someone always brings up that tree. And I'm like, that's so weird that we all have this weird shared experience of this creepy, freaky tree.
I mean, small, young fledgling party walking out in the woods. All of a sudden, a tree starts drawing the blood of dead bodies from around it into itself. That kind of stands out.
That's true.
Kind of stands out.
Yeah, and it flies in the face of like all of our like shared mythology and stuff, like the tree of life and everything. It's a perversion of that, so that strikes at something very primal, I think.
Is this what Connie's gonna have to battle?
What?
Is this what Connie's gonna have to battle since he loves the tree?
Oh. No, I'm not that twisted.
Yet.
I am.
Always asterisk it to put fear in their hearts.
It's true. It's true. I'm gonna save this guy. I think he's pretty cool.
Yeah. What do we got?
And it's CR4. I think he's pretty. I think a CR4 part. If the CR4 party was fighting one of them for sure, but like a pack. I don't know what it's called. What do you call a group of trees?
A grove.
A grove, yeah. A grove of them? Oh, man, you'd be... Especially if they were all popping darkness and stabbing... Like, this could be a reverse of in Lord of the Rings when the Ents come and they just, like, slap people around.
Oh.
It's like... You lure one of the armies gets lured into these guys' grove, and they just annihilate.
I think it would be like if the Ents literally summon the Nazgul in the middle of fighting you. It's just like quite literally you getting slapped by Treebeard, and then all of a sudden like Morgul just sweeps down on his little bone bird and just slaps you across the face. You know, that's the tag team you didn't want to be the part of. Like that's a moment in history you could have witnessed and not been a full part of. Overall, though, I think it's a scary thing.
Yeah. Even if you don't add the stick people to the floor, it's still it's very scary. Like, yeah, it could probably drop one of your players, but it's very scary in a like mood aesthetic role play sense, more so than combat sense.
It's okay. I'm gonna be the dissenting opinion here. I think it could be beefier.
Yeah,
I
as a
think
tree, I think it could probably have more health.
yeah, that, and also I think they could have made it scarier.
Hold on.
Mm.
Hold on.
You feel like they held back?
I do. I mean, you start out with something where it's like a collection of skin-covered roots, and then all it does is stab people. Like, I mean, it's an overgrown needle blight.
I would add either necrotic or poison to the impales.
Yeah.
I would add necrotic or poison to the impales, or have the impales force a dexterity check and reduce movement speed.
I was gonna say, to put what you just said, when you impale someone, you make them roll a con save. If they fail, movement speed 0, they take necrotic damage. As
Yeah,
like
that's
the
good.
roots are pulling it out of them.
You know what else would be really cool? You get impaled by it. It pulls the root back out, but little root-like hairs stay behind, and you have some kind of like lasting
Monster.
thing,
Necrotic splinter?
like necrotic splinter, or something like recurring
Twig
nightmares
blights!
that you take psychic damage from, or something.
Oh, and then it becomes like a puzzle battle where you got to break those things because it's getting health. I was thinking it sucks your blood out, and then like it sprouts twig blights every round that it sucked blood out. But your way, making it like almost like if you guys have played Hawked, one of the puzzles in air quotes is you tap a tree and then the tree sprouts these crystal blossoms and you have to break all of them.
I think though, if you didn't want to make this thing beefy, I think my last whole point would be that you could add the necrotic damage when successful. If you could add a drain effect.
I was thinking as long as you're stuck in place and can't make that save, like it's just like sucking the life out of your feet. Okay, so there's a terrible visual novel called Border of Her Heart. And
I don't even want to know.
And Heather have played it so many times. There's no actual like nastiness in it, besides the gruesome deaths that you can run into. And you play like a border crossing guard, but it takes place in like a fantasy realm, so there's elves and witches and what have you. And the bad guy's actually a witch. And it has some of the strangest dialogue, and the people who are voicing it also, like, not all of them are American, some of them are from other countries, and like they're not like professional voice actors, but they do voice acting, so a lot of the voicing sounds super weird. But when you get, depending on what you do with the witch at the end, one of the ways you can be defeated. Oh, I just realized that's also a pun. But one of the ways you could be defeated is she throws acid at the floor and it burns the bottom of your feet off, and your character screams, "Help! I've been desouled!"
Was this voice acted by the same people who did the Ghost Stories in English dub here in America? Is it the same people?
This is the same game that Heather and I. You guys have probably, if you guys have been on the channel for a while, you've definitely heard someone scream this at some point. But there's a point where you bring home one of the girls who's supposed to be like the warrior of the group. If you bring her back to her tent and she's drunk, you're trying to like leave her there, and she wants you to stay the night. And her line is, the person who's voicing her is from somewhere in Scandinavia, and for some reason the line that she says out loud, like this is a voice line, is, "I'll make you eat ass if you do that again." And it is just, nothing else in the game is like that. It is so funny for no reason.
Nothing else in the game needs to be.
What's up, Rick? Yeah, that was my segue just from watching someone's like it's sucking the life out of your feet. All I could think of was help! I've been desouled. But while you guys are talking about scary stuff, I was trying to figure out if this was a homebrew or a regular item. This is actually a canon item. It is from Lost Mine of Phandelver. It is a battle axe called Hue. That it's a +1 battle axe, but it deals extra damage if you hit plant creatures or wood with it. But it has a semi-curse-ish, where if you walk through a forest with it, the forest is mad at you for having that axe.
Hmm.
So like
Could
imagine
you use a
carrying that
Shadestalker to
axe
build an
into the
axe?
Shadestalker's like bog. Oh.
Maybe the handle of your axe is made from a Shadestalker,
Oh.
and you get bonus damage in darkness when gripping it. So you want to
Ooh.
fight in the dark
I
because
like it.
it's usually a white handle, but it turns black in the dark, thus getting like an additional maybe like D2 or an additional D4 of damage.
Look at this.
I love that.
Canon lore in someone's game now.
Could be yours.
There is not enough rules for like how to do stuff like that. Like I
Yeah.
was in a campaign where somebody cut the tail off of a the cat displacer beast,
Oh.
and you
Hmm.
turned it into a whip. And it's like
Oh,
there's not enough rules for like that kind of stuff. Like there's so many awesome beasties that like you can repurpose bits of. Like there should be more mechanics for that.
people I think have tried to use monster synthesis, as I would call it, in their
Yeah.
campaigns. I think a lot. I've done it myself. I think it's very difficult
Monsters.
because you
That's
can
a good way to
always
put it.
argue what will you give it.
Yeah.
I think like a
Hmm.
displacer beast. I think it would be cool to give someone like a minor displacer beast effect once per turn. Like you can move 5 feet in any
Oh.
direction.
Or
Like
I was thinking instead of parry or riposte, you have as a trait, as a reaction, the sword makes you look like you're jiggling, like you have the blur effect, so it gives people disadvantage on strikes against you. I've been trying to figure out how to come up with a mechanic specifically like that, because there's a character in that time I got reincarnated as a slime. She has a rainbow sword. A rainbow sword actually already exists in D&D, except it shoots 7 different spells. But her version of the rainbow sword is it's always magically vibrating. So like when she hits up against someone else's sword, there's a chance hers will like vibrate theirs out of the way because they're not used to blocking a strike that's moving. And then the other power of it is if you can stab someone 7 times, they die because it's a rainbow sword. Like the cuts are actually made of light. But I was like, that would have to be an artifact level ability. Stab someone 7 times and they die. But I would love to figure out a way to make vibrations in your blade into a cool item or ability.
I'll talk to you. I think I just clicked up a cool idea, and I'll talk to you after about it. I think I may have just completely homebrewed it in my brain somehow.
I'm
So I
down with
apologize.
that.
You could also model it after the quivering palm monk ability.
Oh, I love that. You can as long as you're on the same plane within 24 hours, you're already super. You teleported away to a different country, what have you, and that guy's like licking his wounds, recovering, and then you're like, nah, screw that guy, and then he just and collapses. Like, oh, amazing.
It's
Love
the
it.
most anime monk maneuver they've given the character in D&D, and I'm all for all the flavoring of quivering palm as possible. So I would definitely give a sword that effect.
That's a great idea. Or even a hammer or something like that. Because it's bludgeoning. You're like, wham!
They ring a gong. 24 hours later, you die.
That's in the
Longest-range
item
toll.
description. Stay away from gongs.
It doesn't explain why.
No, yeah, you have to figure it out yourself. I love it. I love it.
What PC we got up next there?
Next up, we got a Strix. If you've been to Strixhaven, know that there's scary birds.
Yeah.
I'm gonna change the music because this is scary. We're gonna go with I'm sorry.
It's very fitting for a Strix.
I like it. I like it a lot. We're gonna zoom this in. Oh, that's terrifying. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You guys on the stream, it might be a little low for you, but it is scary. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
All right, I took my notes. Oh. They're not, they're described as like big birds, but they're not. It's not like a rock big. Medium size. I mean, still a people-sized bird like an ostrich, still terrifying.
I mean, it's cool. I think for this creature especially, that it's based on like real world mythos of how owls were omen bringers. I think it's Greek. It looks Greek. I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna throw it to Greece for this one. On point of origin, but I know that owls representing both kind of wisdom and also in some places being kind of harbingers of death makes this thing kind of cool. Just from if it looks like a giant creepy owl effect for your players, even as an explanation on first viewing.
What an interesting. So this guy, when it kills people, it gets all their memories. And it just wants them memories. But it can also take the form of someone it killed within the last moon cycle. So it wants to just keep killing people, stealing their memories. But like, the idea, this could also be, what's his, he's challenge rating 5. I mean, this is also one of those creatures where it's like, oh, this could be the start of your journey. Like, almost in like a Avatar The Last Airbender where one of the previous Avatar's girlfriends got eaten by the dude who steals people's faces. Like, this is the creature you're going after. It killed my lover, and now it's become them. And it wants more. It always wants more.
This is a question directly for DM Lacara. Would you flavor this, or if you think, do you think you would be able to flavor this in like a cosmic way, in the way it kills people?
What do you mean by
Kind of like in your campaign? I know that you mentioned before that like it's definitely dealing with more like the stars and stuff like that. Do you think you would have like a space Strix?
Oh, God, that's horrifying. Yeah, actually, I have a group of genasi, a homebrew genasi group that are supposed to be like sentinels, basically, against like horrors from space, and that they would, this would be like enemy number 1 for them.
Like I asked you specifically because I know you had mentioned in your campaign, but also looking at these things and them being shapeshifters, you could have this maybe not kill, but kidnap a party member.
Yep.
When they are sleeping and mask them for the next 24 hours.
Oh my God.
And the party has to figure it out.
See, that's like particularly horrifying because shapeshifting is actually my favorite superpower.
Really?
Oh yeah, always has been.
What?
Why have one when you can have them all?
That's true.
Huh.
I always take teleportation because I hate the idea of losing time moving from place to place.
Yeah, got that. Yeah, I'm just like shapeshifting is the best way to evade any situation you ever don't want to be in.
Oh.
But
I had
Yeah.
to read Sadistic Hunters as this part of its lore block like 4 or 5 times before I understood. It's getting off, reliving the memories of it hunting the person it just killed. So this
Yep.
is like, this guy would chill with drow moms and they'd be, you know, living it up, having good times, being sadists.
So this creature has gone from odd, spirity, evil-looking owl into serial killer Gacy owl. I'm a little bit frightened here. I don't know how we elevated it, but now this thing is scaring me.
yeah, this
To be
thing
very
is
honest.
super creepy.
Oh, and it's one of them creatures that requires being stabbed with silvered weapons if you don't have magic items.
I
So
just
like,
saw that.
Ah,
oh boy.
the
Oh,
old
boy.
silver weapon. Now,
Oh, it has
I
a
will
flyby.
say 91, it doesn't look very powerful stat-wise in terms of like physical damage it looks like it's going to do to you, but the fact that it has a 60-foot fly speed of in and out
Mm-hmm.
And it's
means
got
it's going to
flyby.
dive bomb. Yeah. It's doing exactly that. It's doing flybys. You've got to deal with the non-magical attack, not made of silver weapons or magical weapons already. It's got dark vision, so it could swoop in on you and a bunch of shade stalkers that are attacking you.
Oh, all together. Ooh.
And
Ooh.
if you read the languages, it's very clever. It says common, Sylvan, and the language whatever it killed spoke.
Mm-hmm.
So it's essentially any of its past victims have known. So it's not saying just the last victim. It's saying any past victim. So this creature could essentially know everything from celestial to undercommon. Just from having killed things over the years.
I'm
And
looking
it's
at
got a
the
really high whiz.
I'm looking at the
Mhm.
memory absorption trait where it gains the memories of humanoid creatures it kills. So it's basically just looking for humanoids. Like I was thinking, oh, you know, he gets bored, he's gonna go kill some goblins because you know they're easy prey or what have you. Nah, they don't taste as good.
It can cast blur, command, and silent image at will. 3 times a day cast Bane, calm emotions, and suggestion. Suggestion being extra dangerous because it essentially wills you into potentially just doing something. It's like, I think you should really go over into that swamp and stand there for a little while. It's like, yeah,
And
you know what? That's a really good idea. And you just
like
go to do it
if
without
you
even thinking about
pair
it.
that with his sadistic hunter traits, like it could be like, yeah, you should go wait there where I killed this person.
Mm-hmm.
And then that person's like, oh no, they think I'm the murderer. Wow, it has built-in. It's cool to see someone like Hofnar here coming up with ways that help make the creature's like background lore make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know what Silent Image does, so I'm gonna look it up.
I believe it's a disadvantage. I might be confused.
So first level.
It's that, or it's a moving image. What's it saying?
Yeah, I think it's like a slightly stronger minor illusion.
You can make it up to a
Yeah.
15-foot cube, so you can make something really big. Oh, you could be like, there's a wall there, and then the creature gets cornered, but there's actually no wall there.
Oh,
Or
like your
create-
party's behind the wall.
Or create a double of it, of itself.
It isn't accompanied by sound, smell, or other sensory effects. and it's instantly dispelled on physical interaction. Still, 10-minute duration of a wall, that could be a nice little thing to set up and catch somebody off guard. I think on fear factor of this thing alone, I would use it. I don't think this thing hunts in pack, though.
Yeah.
So I don't think my party has to worry about more than one. I think the one is enough for them to worry about in the way it could affect the party and even their own internal trust.
Mhm.
Even though it can, I was thinking just now that when you said you don't think it hunts in a group, I was thinking it could be like the leader of a group of Peritons. And at night, it kind of goes in and scares people in the town so that they leave. So it and the Peritons also, they just love killing people for no reason. And they live in the same areas. Like a Strix could be their leader.
Hmm.
Peritons are.
Are those the ones that love eating horses?
They do love killing humans, but whenever they kill someone, they usually rip out its heart and take it home so they can eat it.
So it's a doggy bag
Yep.
of sorts.
Well, also they need to take someone's heart so that they can reproduce. So they take them back to the nest.
Nope. Good thing I cast that lich spell to remove my heart and put it elsewhere. Meet my phylactery.
Twice with
Yeah, this
talons and once
also
with-
doesn't seem like it would.
I was just reading its multi-attack.
Mm.
What were you saying, DM Lacara?
Yeah, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I cut you off. I was just thinking, like, this also doesn't seem like the type of beastie to take orders.
Right. Yeah.
Like, this wouldn't be, like, sent by somebody to create terror. This is just like, I don't know, your adventurers like hole up somewhere in like a small town because they got snowed in or something, and one of these things is like inhabiting the town, and they have to deal with it and they can't get out.
I feel like I could also see this thing. You saying it wouldn't take orders. I could see it puppeteering like a king, using its shapeshift ability,
Ooh.
and the party being kind of caught up in all of the ordeal because this thing, it removes its transformation for a bit, turns into someone else, but it can always go back to that advisor's form and kind of stand in when it needs to.
Yep.
And it's got
That
all
could
their
be a fun
memories,
thing.
so it's going to be super easy to. And it's not just a body, like it's a full polymorph, so it has their sound, like the way they speak and what have you as well. And it just keeps that stuff forever. I think the idea that it can only transform into a humanoid it's killed since the last moon. Like he's gotta, if he's really getting a town to fall under his, well, I guess, lack of a better term, spell, but not actually a spell at the moment. He's got to like kind of get people on the outsides of town. Like he can't get people too close to one another too soon. Like he's got to save up those families.
So what if the Strix killed the king? The party showed up. The grave cleric saw a gray witness because the gray witness witnessed the Strix killing the king, and now the Strix needs to find said gray witness to stop the party from finding out who he's really not.
Look at that!
I like it.
Boom.
That would be fun. That would be fun to run.
I was also thinking calm emotions, like suggestion, obviously very powerful to get someone to do what you want. But calm emotions, like if someone's running away from you and you hit them with calm emotions, and they're like, "Oh, you don't seem like a threat," That's a free chance for you to swoop down and rip off their I was gonna say peck out their
Yeah.
eyes, but I mean he's probably gonna claw the eyes off first before he like rips off the head or something. This guy's a freak.
Yeah, but then he doesn't get to enjoy their terror if they're calmed.
True. Or
Unless
he gets them
Oh, no.
terrified. He hits them, lets them get terrified again. And
I was gonna say, yeah, he's so sadistic. He just keeps one in a cage that he just keeps casting calm emotion on. It's like, that's my fix.
Oh.
remember, the more information your DM has about your character, the more you can feel bad.
It's very true.
That's just the way it be sometimes. I'd keep this guy. He does seem like he has a lot of health, but I also feel like for CR5, he has a lot of health, but you're also probably not going to get a chance to like really wail on him unless you've cornered him. But he's spent like his entire life figuring out ways to corner other people. So it'll be very difficult to like get in and wail on him. So him having a lot of health is good because he might just like hit you, disappear. He turns into a human, like you don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of story play with this creature. I feel like all these creatures have had more fear induced by them from their actual like story points and like what they can do once they exist.
I like
and this
that.
is definitely one of them.
Like we said at the beginning, like sometimes you don't necessarily like need to have a creature that is I run at Kais, I hit them again, I hit them again. Like there's way more stuff you could do within the role play and the rest of the game to make a creature absolutely terrifying than just I have a ton of AC, I do a lot of damage.
Oh yeah. I think we see it sometimes with campaigns or quests that use dragons as a focal point. A dragon's still is still a monster, or negotiating with a hobgoblin. I mean, even at one point, the orc, before it was a playable class, the half orc was a playable class. It was a creature with an entire, and it still is an entire ecosystem. And like, it's frightening when a war band gets together. So there's a lot of fun I think you can have with non-combat answers to a creature. Negotiation, or in some cases, deception from the creature's end to affect the party overall.
Really get in their heads. Make them feel like they're in their own domain of dread.
Ooh.
All right. Next up.
How do you follow up a story? I feel like we're gonna get to something like truly cute again, like the Gray Witness, and we're just gonna be like, oh, look at all that evil and dread falling out the window.
Okay. Your tip. I was gonna say you're typical, but next one I was gonna say is also from Hofnar. It's a Bogmangler, which is kind of like this is like what the whatchamacallit, the Shadestalker, like when we were talking about they leave them behind so they can become Shadestalkers, probably they become Bogmanglers first.
Bogmangler sounds like a development project that went wrong.
Oh, this would fit perfectly into our Wilford Brimley giant whomping willow of death guy, because it's like the corpses were just left behind, so they became plant corpse people.
There is I'm gonna slap the words together incorrectly, so I apologize to anyone who would know how to say this correctly, but like a fauna necrotic feeling to things. It's like plants and zombies, but when you combine them, it's creepier than
Mhm.
just like
Mm,
reanimated dead. Like it's like, oh, they got reanimated because of like some spell. No, like cordyceps grew in their brain and now run this thing like a fungal zombie colony.
Yep.
That that's petrifying and really fun to play with.
I
Like,
so in the campaign I'm running, when my players got to Wave Echo Cave, we started with the Lost Mines of Phandelver module. When they got to, there's a cave in Wave Echo Cave that has a bunch of photoluminescent mushrooms,
Mhm.
and I had found in, I think it's the first Griffin saddlebag, there's a bunch of like fungus-based magic items, and essentially they were the fungus was making like almost cordyceps type zombies, but they were mushroom zombies, fungal zombies, and it also made like items that were left inside the mushroom colony sort of gain their own sort of properties that were superpowered and what have you. And like I was so excited to expand the lore because no one had been in Wave Echo Cave in hundreds of years. I was like, oh, you guys are gonna bring those things outside. That's gonna be amazing. I get to run rampant with what you're gonna do to the ecosystem. And then like right before they left Wave Echo Cave, our Fire Genasi player was like, I'm gonna go to the cave with the glowing mushrooms. I'm gonna burn them all. And I was like, what? No, my fun. And he went in and he annihilated everything in that cave. And I was like, the two of them were holding, I think it was a fungus buckler, and one of them had a fungus axe. And I was like, you can feel something is wrong with it. Like as this fungal colony is burning, you can feel your weapons are sort of melting in your hands. Like if you don't let
oh
them
damn,
go, you think this is gonna spread to you as well. And they were
oh
like, you
damn.
took away our magic items. I was like, no, you took away your magic items.
I was gonna say though, on that level too, I think a bone mangler would be my substitution for like a circle of spores druid casting reanimate dead.
Oh,
Mhm.
that's great.
Instead of them forming a zombie, they're forcing roots into this dead creature
Yep.
Oh, I like
I
that.
like it.
to force it to reanimate.
Yep.
Do
I
I
could also
have?
see this being like an extra planar thing, like some creepy swamp plane or something. Somebody accidentally brings spores or a plant clipping or something, and it starts creating these.
Almost like you could, I mean, if you really want to, I feel know that maybe like a fungal Draco Lich. Like they defeated a black dragon using a circle of spores druid defeated a black dragon, but the spores infected it, and now
Mhm.
it's just creating horrifying plant necrotic madness all over a new plane.
Yep.
So you got oh yeah, that could be fun.
I, uh, if any of you have read the Shades of Magic series, um, there's basically four universes, and they get their names from like how much magic is left in them. And you find out that there's a universe that they call Black London, and no one can go to Black London anymore because there was so much magic, like it was just pure chaos, and the magic just kind of ate everything else away, and so everyone has to stay away from Black London. And I'm like, that could have been like you fed the roots so much on this one plane that that creature just like took over the entire plane, and you can't let him get any further now.
Oh, like one of those giant fungus colonies in a forest. The ones that are like 5 miles across. Yeah.
Mm.
I like this. I also like the endless hunger block where it's not just that like they crave flesh. He says, Hafnar said, "Yo, they have no stomach, so they're just eating and it falls out. They're just always hungry. It makes them ravenous because they cannot hold on to anything."
Yeah, it's messed up.
That's good stuff.
I will say I like I kind of like that this is kind of maintained in a very weird way, almost like all these creatures have almost like an eldritch horror or almost like a very strange horror theme to them.
Mm.
And I really like that each of these creatures, in a crazy way, you could throw all these in like your own homebrew Strahd game.
Mm.
Yeah.
And these things exist in the world of Barovia if you needed a place to slap them all together, because they're just that borderline horrifying. I really like the collection. I like the work that's been put into them to give them a lot of function, because this is, again, it's frightening to look at. This is definitely probably leaning more towards when your party encounters these, the only answer is to destroy these things.
Mm.
Like I would roll, and I would have to try and figure out on a cleric's turn undead table where these things would fall. Probably around like a white.
Ooh.
I'd probably put them around a white, judging from the level I think that the party would affect them. But I would like turn undead and any kind of like, natural weaknesses to the cleric and all those fun, the holy domain of the cleric and the paladin to affect these too, because it would be fun. It would be fun.
Okay, so there's CR2, but just one of them, and it's recharge 5 to 6, and it's not based on concentration. Like I think the Shadestalker's obscure function like concentration. This one is just has a recharge, but potentially every turn one of the Bogmanglers can throw out a 30-foot radius sphere around it that has a chance to restrain anyone in it, and for the next minute that whole sphere counts as difficult terrain. So like if you threw a group of these at people, there's a chance nobody's moving. These are the perfect like prey vehicles for a Shadestalker. Like, oh, you go hold them. Then you can apply the impale as well. Oh, just suck their life out. Oh. I also like that he's very slow. He's mostly like just roots and dangling bones, so it makes sense that it's difficult for him to move. But he does have a really cool pounce ability. Like he has one ability to get in real quick, shoomp, and then after that, he's a problem.
I also like he has a 20-foot swim speed. You don't see creatures note swimming often.
He's faster in the water than on land, which is cool. And the bottom of his last trait says they hang out in the water, which the whole rest of his stat block, well, the whole rest of his lore block, I was assuming he was walking around the woods. No, he's chilling in the water.
And in fact, his pounce, if a Bogmangler is underwater, it pounces an enemy using a network of vines to propel itself. That's
This is
really
like
cool.
slingshotting itself out of the water.
Yeah, slingshotting itself, hoping to like knock you back in and then pop its vines.
And suffocate you underwater. Now this thing becomes even more terrifying, because once it traps you underwater or puts you in the water, it's trying to grasping vine and have you run out of air. It's trying to drown its victims. Because with movement speed reduced, you can't swim up either.
Yeah. And like, because it has the ambusher trait, you expect most of them to be at the bottom of whatever bog you're in. So most players won't notice they're there. That first round, they all pounce. They break the surface of the water, and just like this zombie, like half vine, half pile of bones, skeleton thing breaks the surface of the water and is lunging at you.
I'm just putting the fear in my mind of a group walking into a room and a rainbow effect of these things firing at the party in one turn as it just cascades across the room, and each one of them having to make a dex save to make sure they don't get hit by one of these and knocked into the water. Like on a surprise roll, yes.
While I was describing it, in my head, what I was seeing was the the cheese like xenomorphs from Turtles in Time, and I was like, "But
Oh
that's
yeah,
not scary. That's funny."
That's all right. I feel like the whoever came up with this watched the scene with the dead marshes and was like, "Nah, you know what? Not creepy enough. Needs more vines."
Mm.
definitely they're a big fan of Sam Raimi. They're definitely watching all the Evil Dead movies as well and going, I could do that. Imagine you had to roll a d20 to get out of that. Good luck with a chainsaw for a hand.
Oh, and you can't even use their natural weakness, fire, because you're in the water.
Good luck producing flame.
He even has Vine Whip. He's clearly a grass type.
Hmm.
Actually, he doesn't even have weakness to fire or anything.
And it has tremor sense.
Oh, it's feeling me through the
Oh,
water.
60 feet. We encountered this last week with the last creature we looked at as well. This like kraken-like creature, the one that
Oh,
like
yeah,
pummels
yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah.
That it has tremor sense, but that tremor sense usually denotes that you have to be touching the ground, and that for the sake of tremor sense underwater, it would be anything affecting 60 feet within around it in the water that it's sensing, like almost like ripple sense instead of tremor sense.
Yeah,
Or like
in my campaign, because of the changes that before they made the changes to Genasi with Monsters of the Multiverse, a water Genasi didn't have any special ability in the water, and we were trying to come up with a good way to balance that, because as a Genasi, like they not necessarily be one with the water, but they should have some kind of interpretation of it. And we went with, if your head is submerged, she's got blind sense within the water, which essentially is ripple sense. Maybe I should change it to tremor sense instead, with like the caveat that it's when you're underwater.
yeah, or even touching water, like you're fighting in like a pool of water. I think giving them tremor sense would be fair because they'd be feeling the vibrations on their skin, which is the water around it. Obviously, they have to be like barefoot.
Hmm.
So it could be fun for like a barefoot water genasi monk with like this tremor sense like ability to just like strike at people in the dark in like a room full of water, almost like Gara with sand in Naruto, except they just carry a jug of water to have a wet floor.
Beats! It's for beats in your campaign,
Yep.
DM Lacara.
Here we've got a monk that's a waterbender, basically.
I wish
Ooh.
DM Bacon were here because I have an Elefunk. It's a Loxodon monk in DM Bacon's campaign, and Beats is a catfolk monk, and I think they're gonna be best friends.
Oh.
I love my
Definitely.
Elefunk.
Where's it funk?
Let's see. I think we have time for one more creature.
I was gonna say, do you guys wanna? We're approaching 10, but if you guys want to, I'll definitely throw up another one.
One more.
I think we can.
Yes. This guy's terrifying. This guy would be great for. There is a homebrew. There's a guy. For those of you who are having difficulty like coming up with a new adventure to send your players on, there's a guy on Dungeon Masters Guild named Michael Labossiere, and he makes Mike's free encounters, which are like real short adventure one shots, and he's got like over 100 of them, so you can just do those. Each of them have like one homebrew monster, one homebrew feature, and one of them is like a living puddle. So these guys would be great within the living puddle. Ooh, a hush devil. This is a big boy. Hey, buddy. Look at you. You're so big.
Oh dear.
That would be a good background. Like, there's such good art. I'm pretty sure this is from MTG. Let's be honest. I'm pretty sure it's from MTG.
It's an Amonkhet card. It's an Amonkhet card. I'm sure of it.
Hush, devil. This guy I've had in my bookmarks for a really, really, really long time.
I will say though, what a way to close out the block of creatures we looked at.
Yep.
Because if ever there was a, like, when the Power Rangers, when Rita Repulsa had her putties, if ever there was something that I would hate to fight in like a group, this is it. This thing right here. Of all the things we've seen tonight, this thing right here, absolutely not. This is when I peace out.
This guy,
Yeah.
because of Silent Torturers, where he can just steal, he doesn't need to kill you. He just steals the voice and can mimic it of someone around you. Like, this guy paired with a Strix. Oh!
Oh, a Hush Devil and a Strix team up to like hunt adventurers. Oh man.
What do we got? He's only CR3, so you probably have a chance to kill him. Maybe. Depending on if he scares you or not.
Wait,
He can cast Hold Person.
wait. Wouldn't a Strix hunt this? It's humanoid.
Nice fiend.
Hmm.
I mean, you could. He looks pretty humanoid. You could, you if you want. They're just dueling. They're just dueling, and people are dying like in the town every day. Someone's dying because they're trying to. They're having a competition.
Uh-huh. I like what you're cooking.
That's amazing. It's got Hush. Oh, it's a melee attack. Why would it be melee? Okay, so hear me out. For Hush, since it's melee, he reaches out and he touches you. He can touch you anywhere on your body. But if it succeeds, the same thing happens to you that happens to Neo in the Matrix when he's in the interrogation room and just his mouth is just gone.
I think that would be hilariously fun.
I love that.
Wait, does this thing have like disguise self or anything?
No, it has minor illusion, but only for voice.
But I think this thing is also trying to ambush you as well. It seems like another ambush type creature.
I definitely think. Oh, I didn't even think of that. It steals your voice. You can't cast spells.
Yeah, it's probably lurking in the back, looking for your like somatic spellcasters and your bards. This thing shuts your bard down.
I was thinking he's trying to get the weakest one alone, but no, he's trying to steal the voice of the weakest one of your party so they can call for help.
Yep.
Oh, that's nice. I mean, I wouldn't want to run into one, but he would be nice to run.
This could be something you have maybe attacking like a wizard's college or a bard's college. It's just going around messing with all the students by stealing their voices so they can't perform properly.
You know what I'm picturing? As a one-off, this thing teams up with some other type of fiend that's more charismatic, and they work together as a ventriloquist team. And they go around doing shows, and the Hush Devil just like creeps around and steals the voices and attacks people in the audience while everybody's paying attention to the charismatic one on stage.
Oh, Also, well, yes, he's trying to lure people in. Though, if he wants to kill the person who's hushed, what are they going to do? Alert the party?
Mhm.
They have no mouth. I have no
Have
mouth,
no
but I
mouth,
must
mouth,
scream!
Oh, like as you said it, the entire image formed in my head, and by law of the universe, I had to scream.
I have
But
no
this,
mouth, but I must scream. I love him.
this amplifies again, hit point wise, damage wise. It's annoying. A few of these are gonna, one of these is gonna be a problem. But the biggest fear factor of this thing is it shuts down. If you're a cleric and took a, I think it's, I forget what the healing word. I think it's healing word versus cure wounds. If you took healing word over cure wounds for the ability to cast it across the room, guess what? You can't heal anyone
What up,
because
Fist?
it's taking your ability to speak.
I think that
Bard
this,
and
like,
scared.
for him to scare a party, sure, but imagine like you're in there during a battle, and there's just one hush devil on the field. Your party probably doesn't know that at the time, but all of a sudden, poof poof, this dude just appears, gets your spellcaster who's in the back, who's squishy, just starts stabbing him up, knocks him out. He can't tell anyone. He's muted. This guy just starts poofing around the battlefield, yelling things as you're like the chaos he can create on a battlefield is amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, I really like this guy
And
too.
if you wanted to flavor one in a campaign as well, kind of going off of your idea, DM Lacara, about the ventriloquist, you could also have him be a broker. He lends people money in exchange for their voices.
Oh.
So if you don't pay him back in time, he steals your voice, and he keeps it until you pay him back.
Or
Yep.
or you pay him and it's almost like a hit. Like you pay him to ruin someone's reputation. Like you pay him, you sign the contract, he goes after them, steals their voice. It's almost the same as like the Strix tricking people into being framed for murder. Like the same idea, just he's ruining their reputations.
Wow.
I think one other way you could play that is it deals in specific meaningful words to people. So it will steal your ability to say a name. So
Oh
like,
my god.
so if you fail to pay this creature back, and let's say the adventurers have to help this guy out because he failed to pay this thing back, and he can no longer say his children's names.
Oh my, because it's a devil, it's clearly going to take a bargain if it can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. You reached a whole new level.
Oh my god, you're evil! I love it!
I prefer the term chaotically inclined, but once
I
in a
also
while.
like my party specifically, like that would absolutely fucking ruin them as players. Like they would be like, no, the whole campaign is about getting this guy to be able to say hello to his children. Like that's the campaign now. Whatever you had doesn't matter. We don't care. The
Yeah.
world can end around us. We're gonna make sure that this guy can speak to his children again.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I get that.
yeah. Again, it's a deep heartstring pull on your party, but man, if that's not a cool way to play this thing up even further, because as the devil, and it being in all aspects of a devil, a trickster, and probably having it's like you said, love and make the deal. That's a scary thing because maybe it offers your party more power in
Hmm.
exchange. There's a lot of cool things you could do with that. And I also think though, just as a feature and a skill set from creatures, muting an enemy or a party member is such a forgotten debilitation.
Yeah,
like
nobody
zones of silence.
ever goes around looking for that.
Yeah. Shutting down a whole room if you're fighting spellcasters and enemy spellcasters with like a zone of silence is a big move. And maybe you don't get, Crown of Madness or, Shatter. But shutting down 6 spellcasters versus blowing up 1 sword, I think shutting down 6 spellcasters helps your party in the long run.
Fist said the campaign we're talking about should be all about financial reform.
I think you're dealing on I think you're literally dealing in Barovia in like a really messed up Strahd campaign.
Or you could even be like those people, like, as speaking of Barovia, since it's technically a domain of dread, like the idea that all the people that have reneged on their deals with this guy end up in their own domain of dread, where not only can they not say these people, but like they lose more memories of them every day that they don't pay them back. So like they
I
try to
want to
send
run.
you there to help you, to help them.
I want to run the Grave Domain Cleric, who's a former soldier who traded the names of his former platoon that all died to a Hush Devil, and he can't say goodbye and rest it in peace until he gets it back. And that's his whole story arc. I want to run this in Barovia right now.
Oh
I don't care.
God.
I want to do it. Because that's fun. That's so much fun. And I want to fight this Hush Devil. Secretly, I want to slap the names out of its mouth. I want to slap this Hush Devil and be like, keep my platoon's names out your mouth. I need to be able to do this.
Actually, for those of you who are really into Domains of Dread as a thing, well, okay. Before I even go into the next point, if you don't know what a Domain of Dread is, basically it's a demiplane that exists to basically function as the worst mental prison a creature can possibly have. So like Strahd's prison is that like he can't ever have his wife again. His wife is gone and he will never have her. And he's just trapped there forever, being punished forever. But if you're really into that specifically, Vecna Eve of Ruin is the last official 5e book that's going to come out before the new source books for 1D&D start coming out. And Vecna Eve of Ruin, you're basically, it's like a greatest hits album. So you go back to Barovia, you go back to, I think, the Nine Hells at some point because Tasha's in there. And like if you liked those things, if you liked what was in previous books, Vecna Eve of Ruin is a greatest hits album for you.
I'm getting Vecna's because that's a great send off. Vecna's OG evil. I know he's making a big appearance everywhere now. He's popping up in everything. He's in Dead by Daylight now.
I can't believe he's in Dead by Daylight. That's crazy.
I'm excited. So I'd love to see Vecna. I secretly want to steal Vecna's hand and like throw it somewhere in between, like throw it on a spaceship. But I think Vecna as a villain, I think you could use some of these creatures in that next book that's coming out. And to that other point about 1D&D coming, I am excited, but I'm more excited to see what I want to steal from 1D&D to put into my own campaigns.
I have zero interest in moving over like the base class. Like if you're a spellcaster now, there's different spell tables based on what kind of spellcaster you are. Like I'm not gonna make any of my players be like, no, you gotta change all your spells now. I'm not doing that. If you're already running 5e, I'm already running 5e.
I'll be interested to see how it looks. It might it looks like it's going to simplify certain things, so it could be kind of fun, but eh. eh. There's
I'm
too many mechanics to absorb.
I'm still too annoyed with like Monsters of Multiverse started it where they were like, oh, we're gonna. It's not even PCing the game. It's just the push is to make it as inclusive as possible. But you get to a point where when you're being inclusive, like you're removing fundamental parts of the game. Like lizard folk now no longer they're not into cannibalism when that's like their entire culture up until this point in D&D has been like the warmth returns to the tribe. When someone dies in the group, the rest of the group can eat them. They will provide nourishment, they will provide warmth. They're reptiles. And now it's like we can't talk about cannibalism because these creatures are bipeds and therefore cannibalism is bad. It wasn't to them. They're also not real.
Yeah, once anybody starts talking about like inclusivity with something like D&D, it's like you can literally play anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you even doing? That was the whole point.
It's fiction.
Yeah.
It's not meant to perfectly mirror the real world. I know that a lot of people earlier on, before the Monsters of Madness, the Monsters nonsense, it was the Dark Sun campaign. A lot of people don't like the idea behind it, but it was gladiatorial arena combat. Unfortunately, those people weren't there by choice, so unfortunately they were kind of trapped in a form of slavery. And people were like, no, you can't have that. And it's like, but that's also why we can't return to Mystara, because people think that it's just it's horrible. It was just written as a sign of the times. Things can be adjusted. I don't think, but it was also, like you said, it was crucial to the characters. It was a part of who the character was. The cannibalism for our lizard folk, location, various religious beliefs and things of that nature. It gave more life to the world around D&D. And thankfully, as DMs, all three of us being DMs, we get the power to veto WotC whenever we feel like it. And that's a veto I think I continue to do if people in my campaigns want to use monster races and stuff like that. I like to go back to the vintage versions of them because I like all those little additions. And I don't mind Drow being Drow.
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay, this is specifically related to Drow, but I had this conversation with Grimjack 2 weeks ago where he was like, why do Drow have to be separated and why are they always dark? Like, why do all Drow have to be black? And I was like, well, I mean, their name is literally Dark Elves. So they are different than regular light-skinned elves. And we got into this argument, and what he was trying to say was, why are they black if they live underground? And if he had
Fair
started
question.
with that, I would have been like, okay, that's a good question. But he just kept going, why are they dark elves if they're drow? Which is the same thing. And we argued for like a good 10 minutes before it was like, oh, no, you want to know why their melanin content is so high if they live underground. Okay. That is a good question. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's actually, I don't think I've ever put science in that section. In all of my years of D&D, I have never contemplated why the people devoid of sunlight are the darkest ones. Wow.
Yeah, that bothers me.
I was like, some of them, since they're descendants, at least in the Forgotten Realms, most of them are descendants of Lolth or have been corrupted from her, so they turn dark. I was like, that part sort of makes sense, but not all of them. Not all of them worship Lolth, but technically they were born because she wanted to, eat her husband.
If you've never read D&D lore, folks, so for the Forgotten Realm or any of the various versions of D&D, I do implore you to in your boredom, flip through. A lot of crisp lore. More lore than Vati Video could make videos on. I'd say.
I pinned your comments when I said your husband. He said, I remember that episode of the Joe Rogan podcast. That's a good one. Yeah. D&D lore is some crazy stuff. You guys on the stream wouldn't have been able to hear it because of the noise gate, but I was giggling because I realized the placement of the Hush Devil would be absolutely perfect to get like a printout of and stick him like on a doorway so that it looks like he's just like silently judging you. And I was like, I kind of want to background that because it looks like he comes out of the corner and he's just like, wow. What are
You're
you
doing it
in
wrong.
here? Yeah. I don't want this. So as I was making it as big as possible on the stream, I was like sniffling, snorting into the mic, but the noise gate wasn't catching it.
I'm just imagining now this thing standing in the corner. Back again, huh? Why is it? It's just judging your party for everything they do.
I feel like this needs to be part of the intro sequence now.
Today we shall judge. I'm sure he has a creepy voice, so I'll have to make a video. It's just like a voiceover of it'll fade in to him in the corner and being like, "Prepare to be judged."
It should be a different voice every time.
Because he's stolen
Ooh.
someone's voice. I was originally thinking it has to be high pitched.
He says
because
it in
that would
your
be the
loved
most
one
funny.
voice. He says it in your
Oh,
loved one voice. Oh, that's great. It's like it's so, and especially if it's someone like near and dear to them, it's like they came to speak. Oh. If they want, they could maybe have it where this thing's been going around killing people and then posing as a fortune teller saying it's going to speak to their dead relatives and then is using the dead relative's voice as a con and then killing that person and then continuing their scheme.
Or
elsewhere.
He's working with the Strix and he's like, I will now perform a seance to bring your dead loved one back to the room so that you may speak to them. And it's the fucking Strix.
Oh my god.
As their dead loved one. Ugh.
Oh, because they killed him to get.
He does look like he eats a Hot Pocket cold. What a specific description. I love you, Fist. Never change, please.
I can definitely see him eating his Hot Pocket cold.
Little known fact, that's how they're created.
He looks mad at you for not subscribing or using his download link to raid Shadow Legends every video.
He for sure could be a raid Shadow Legends character.
Just staring at you, he's like, "Why aren't you playing Raid Shadow Legends?"
That's their ad. That could be one of their ads.
Don't give them that. I want you to get 45% of anything that comes through that idea. Your first watching. I want everyone and known. You're getting residuals so you can buy those Hot Pockets. You're gonna heat those bad boys up and cheer up the Hush Devil.
I had a friend who got sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, and I found out that they will only pay you if enough people not only download the game through your link, but they have to get to like level 10. And I was like, oh, that's no. So nobody gets paid. Nah.
But I will say, overall, we've looked at some really cool monsters tonight.
Michi and Hofnar, you did amazing, and I'm hoping there's more of your stuff out there. I have a ton of Michi's stuff already saved that I've previously looked at, but I'm hoping they still do this. It's one of those things
No,
that
I
I
think
would love to get into. And at the beginning, it seemed like such a daunting task. But after starting to really like, I don't have a deep understanding, but after starting to understand like how a stat block is supposed to be built, I think it's actually a lot easier to start making other creatures than most people make it seem because there's so many templates out there already. Like, there's so many creatures that make sense that you're like, I could take this but tweak it.
Yeah.
Ramen lasagna. I'm not gonna lie to you, Fist. I would eat ramen lasagna.
I'd be concerned for your insides after.
Fair. Very
I'm
fair.
always concerned for reasons.
Also, that too.
Oh wait, there's a very important distinction here. Does ramen lasagna have tomato sauce in it or not?
Ooh.
Oh.
That's a game changer. That's. I didn't think about that.
100%. Well, not 100% off topic from this, but 100% off topic from D&D. Piano Knox and I, when we both had ramen for the first time when we were in our teens. Like, we never had it as kids, and we became obsessed to the point where we always called like the broth after your ramen. We used to call it the sludge, and for some reason Knox especially was obsessed with the sludge. So at some point we were like, yo, the sludge is so good. Why don't we we both ate our ramen and we put our sludge in thermoses and we were like, we're gonna drink this later.
No.
I don't know if you've ever had cold sludge after it's cooled. Disgusting.
I should beat you with a stick.
Yeah, that's no. Just don't. No.
Don't recommend.
No. No. And this is why, folks, you need to subscribe to the Patreon so that DM Okami does not commit such Travis act on
Please
humanity.
help him understand nutrition.
At least one night, every night, one of us here in DM Supplementals wakes up in a cold sweat thinking that DM Okami has potentially eaten ramen sludge. So you need to subscribe. You need to subscribe to the Patreon, subscribe on YouTube, and stop this for all our sakes.
Only you can prevent sludge drinking.
I need to make that a hashtag.
Hashtag no sludge.
Stop the sludge.
It's just a picture. It's just a picture of a Grimer falling out of a thermos with the Ghostbusters no symbol on it.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. I was just thinking I could make a short of that, and the only image while we're speaking is me zoomed in on the Hush Devil. Hush Devil judging.
See, this is why the Hush Devil is sitting in the corner of your room. Okay? Judging you like this.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I
Don't
kind
do
of want to
that.
go to Staples and be like, "Hey, yo, make a real big version of this so I can stick him on the corner of everything." See, all over my house, right on the side of every picture frame. Hush Devil judging you.
Yep.
Support this.
On that note.
I think that's a good sign that it's about time.
Oh,
Okay, Okami, thank you for having me again, as always.
thank you guys
And
for
look,
joining me. I very
Yeah.
much appreciate it.
Always cool to hang with you guys. I think we're off next week for the holiday.
Oh, there's a holiday. I didn't even know there was. Oh, it's Memorial Day weekend next weekend. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Don't know. I'm not sure of my availability yet, so I'll keep you posted if we're
Yeah.
doing anything. But
Oh. I was going to say, we talked about this at the beginning. We decided outside of the streams that after the streams end from now on, we're going to put up a poll in our chat for DMs that'll run for a day, and then we'll figure out what the next topic is after that. So
Yeah.
maybe next week it won't be monsters. Maybe it will. Who knows? But we have infinite content to look at, so we're not really worried about running out of anything.
We also have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah.
Trust me, we have the thoughts. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us.
Yes.
Have a great week.
Neither of you guys are streaming anything this week. Can't tell them to go anywhere. Remember, you could go find Shin's YouTube channel. It's linked in the description below.
And I'll put all those videos that I used to make, and maybe it'll inspire me to click finish edit on the rest of my house.
That's fair.
So do that.
And as for me, I will be streaming. I'm going to, so on Twitch only, not YouTube. I've been doing MTG catalog streams because I wanted to catalog all the cards that I have of MTG, or all the MTG cards that I have 2 or more of, because I can actually cut those up and make D&D minis with them. Don't worry, I'm not going to be cutting up any cards that are worth a ton of money. And by a ton of money, I mean like $1. Don't worry about that. But I'm also going to, I finished all my doubles plus cards already, that catalog, so this week I'll be putting up my commander decks on Moxfield so I can download them, and then I can use them on Cockatrice, which I'm hoping to at some point have an MTG stream of, or a video or something. We could do a multiplayer game that way.
You let me know when. I will. I'll prep the decks.
And I made a friend doing those streams in France on Twitch named Ozzy. So come talk to us about your decks. Come theorycraft with us. I'll put out a tweet before I go live, same as it used to be when I used to stream twice a week. Now I'm trying to get a stream going every day that I don't have another stream going. So I'll be around. Follow me on Twitter. Links are in the description, both on YouTube and Twitch, and then you'll know when I'm going to go live. Okay, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for staying late, everybody, too. That goes both to the audience and to the DMs.
You had us going. No, it's always a good time. Always a good time.
Bye, everybody.